couple of years ago, back in 2020, we saw the debut of Sonic the Hedgehog onto the big screen, and whilst originally it was clear that the film was going to be a disaster, I mean, just look at the terrible design choices they made for the original Sonic model. Ugh, truly cursed. That is the look of a character whose film series is going to be cancelled. But despite that hideous appearance, it seems like the ugly model was the main problem, and once it was removed and changed, the film itself was actually really good, with solid performances and a fun story, and it made some good money as well. Impressive since it was released right as COVID was taking off, just in the nick of time to prevent its box office being completely massacred. But yeah, the first one did very well. I rather enjoyed it. It was rather refreshing to see a video game movie do well and get positive reviews. And then we got the second one in 2022, and similarly, it did well, grossed like $400 million, decent enough reviews, and hey, I'll admit, when I watched it, I wasn't really feeling it. Don't know why that was, I still don't know why, but my opinion was not the popular consensus, because when I made that video way back when, people were very salty about it, that's for sure. But hey, it still did well, let's not forget that. And it spawned further continuations of the franchise. The first, well, there is a film coming out later this year, Sonic the Hedgehog 3, but even more recently than that, as in just the other day, we got a spin-off show on Paramount+, Knuckles, which, as the name might imply, follows the character of Knuckles the Echidna, who the wider audience was introduced to during the course of the second film, first as a villainous character out to defeat Sonic, and then as an ally to Sonic in his clashes against the mad scientist Dr. Robotnik, or Eggman. And yeah, I hadn't really enjoyed the character all that much in the second film. He was fine, I just found him less enjoyable than Sonic and Tails. Like, sorry, that's just how I thought about things. And so, when I saw that he was getting a spin-off show, of all characters, I couldn't help but think, oh, really? This guy? This is who you're gonna go with? I just didn't see how it was gonna be, well, not any good. I always knew the franchise was good, you can see that plain as day. Just take a look at the Rotten Tomatoes scores. The first one has a 64% critical score and a 93% audience score. And so I don't think there's much arguing with that. And then the second one has a 69% critical score and a 96% audience score. So nobody's really disputing the quality, or at least the popularity, and whether they were well received. But I simply thought that a show following Knuckles with minimal involvement from the other major characters like Sonic, it was going to struggle. But hey, I have to say, I was wrong. I was wrong, like embarrassingly bad take right there. Trashed here. What was I thinking? This show is so good. Not only is it extremely good, it's goated. This is the best show I've seen this year, far and away the greatest game-to-screen adaptation of all time. That's the truth. It is just so good. I'm actually in awe of this show. And it's just been quite a while since the show's genuinely made me laugh this hard, this much. Like, it's just so good in so many ways. I mean, just a very brief run-through of the plot before we go any further, so spoilers abound. But I'll just briefly run through the spoilers, not in too much detail, because honestly, you need to watch this show to do it proper justice. The show follows the story of Knuckles and human Wade Whipple, a sheriff's deputy from Green Hills, Montana, as they undergo a joint quest to make their way to Reno, Nevada, with the intention of Knuckles training Wade in the way of the Echidna warrior so he can pass on his traditions to new people and allow Wade to win the National Bowling Championships and impress his deadbeat father, Pistol Pete, who walked out on his family years before and who lives in Reno as a professional bowler. Now this guy, he must be a megastar bowler winning literally all the top tournaments and getting sponsors and whatnot, because I checked. Being a top bowler, I guess, can be lucrative enough if you win a lot, which he does, I guess, but not penthouse suite level rich, I think. Pistol Pete. But anyway, that's just their end goal, because along the way, they have to contend with a whole lot of stuff. Knuckles and his strange fish-out-of-water nature, crazed criminals out to kidnap Knuckles and sell him for his quills, which can power technology, Wade's dysfunctional family, Wade's treacherous former best friend / bowling team captain, who's also a bounty hunter out to bring Wade to justice for 100 grand. Along the way, there's a spirit dream where Wade gains strength via low-budget rock ballad. There's single combat fought upon a bicycle and a motorbike. A mad scientist who worked for Dr. Robotnik trying to kill Knuckles. Pistol Pete, proving to not just be a deadbeat, but also a truly terrible person, selling out his own family to the criminals. And in the end, he defeats his dad, he wins the National Bowling Championship, and he leaves with Knuckles, who now knows that he's found his own place to call home at long last. Somewhere he belongs. Excellent. And yeah, like I said, that's a pretty bare-bones synopsis that I gave you, but already you can tell that it's batshit insane. And often when you read a plot synopsis that seems as crazy as this, you probably would think, oh, well, I guess it'll seem more cohesive when I actually watch it. But it doesn't. It never feels cohesive. It never really makes that much sense. And at times the plot legitimately feels like it was written by someone who is unwell or high or drunk or whatever it is, but regardless, it's glorious. It's like a live action Family Guy, but more PG. And I think a big part of its success, apart from the absolute god tier writing of the story and the banter and the jokes, is that it knows its format is not sustainable for long periods of time. In a film format with no breaks and just one continuous storyline, I think the characters and the situations would quickly lose their edge, lose their luster, lose their wacky charm, and become very grating. But instead here, you get them in 25 to 30 minute doses of a single story. And so you get amped up the whole way through. And even just that brief gap of a minute or so as you switch to the next episode, if you binge like I do, it gives you that brief moment to reset and recharge, and so it doesn't get old. Plus, they don't linger on any one scenario too long. They keep things moving. And so you have a very refreshing 6-episode season. Not every show needs to be a 10-episode odyssey with hour-long episodes. The 20 to 30 minute format here, they've hit that sweet spot. It knows the story it wants to tell in terms of its overarching narrative, and also in its episode by episode storylines too, and it does it very well. And so when it ends, it leaves you feeling satisfied, and dare I say perhaps wanting just a touch more, eager for the next installment, which is perfect, as there's a movie coming later this year. It's just well paced, well planned, and it felt really clever to not have all the episodes revolve around Knuckles fighting off the people hunting them down. And instead it focuses more on the bond between Knuckles and Wade and their individual journeys. Wade's quest to become a true warrior to try to earn his father's love once again, but also Knuckles in his journey to find a true home. A family, friends, a way to connect with the planet in the same way that Sonic has. And so in the end, whilst there is the backdrop of those villains hunting them, ultimately they don't matter. You could sub them out for a different storyline and the show still works perfectly because it's not about that. It's about the two characters. The scenarios are just added flavor, a way to make you laugh and get excited, a tool to develop the characters. It isn't the scenarios or the plot that matters. It's how the characters behave and change based on those plot points. That's how they develop the story. And I think that's a big part of why the show works so well, because you get invested in those characters. Another big part of why the show works so well is, well, the leads, Knuckles and Wade. And we'll start with Knuckles because he's the title character, but honestly, I'm not even sure if he's the main character. I don't think that's Wade. But regardless, they make this dude so fun to watch. It is no secret that the character archetype that they use for him here is one that's been wildly successful. The overly literal badass with a soft side. Someone who's socially awkward and weird. It's a classic trope. A variant of it can be seen in Drax, and I don't know, it just makes the show because he's so awkward and fun and endearing and he doesn't understand that he is. And so he gets to have these deeply absurd moments, like when he creates a fight pit in the living room for a dog to fight to the death against the mailman. A mailman he's kidnapped off the streets. But then it also contrasts so nicely with scenes like him and Wade's mum having a bonding moment where he sees this lonely old woman and he just wants to spend time with her and learn about Earth, with his earnest ways just drawing her to him as well, and gives him more incentive to start to embrace being on Earth. And it's just one part truly weird and wacky and funny, and then also really wholesome and cute. Wade, he similarly fits a fun archetype, the utter loser in every respect, kicked off his bowling team in favour of a little girl, ditched by his dad, he's a massive mama's boy, gets bullied hard by his equally lame sister, he has a huge elaborate plan to free Knuckles when he gets kidnapped that instantly goes wrong and makes him look like a buffoon. Like, he's the total loser that's also massively endearing. Kinda like a Homer Simpson type vibe. But over the course of the show, his bond with Knuckles deepens, he develops as a character and as a hero, and he becomes more competent. He's able to work his way to the top. He doesn't become a superhero or save the day or anything like that. In the end, that's Knuckles' job. But he confronts his demons, he defeats his dad in the bowling tournament, and proves to himself and the world that his dad was wrong to leave, and that he is a massive schmuck. And in the end, it's the bond between Wade and Knuckles. It's so wholesome, so well developed. Beyond the insanity, I was not expecting such deep and wholesome writing. Such a well developed friendship. But I like that it also feels different to Sonic and Tom. That one's more paternal. This is more like two friends, two brothers, and it works well and makes you care. But yeah, ultimately beyond the characters, the actual best part of the show is the absurdity of everything going on. Like, it's fully wild. I've mentioned it a lot already, but at times it was so insane that it almost felt like a parody of the Sonic movies. In Sonic there is weirdness and humor, but never to this level. But I think the best part is that nobody ever breaks. Nobody ever acknowledges just how weird everything is. And so you get this tone that is so different, with these ridiculous characters, like the bounty hunter slash bowling captain, Pistol Pete, the celebrity bowler who wears a Union Jack suit and has a clear bowling ball with a tee set embedded inside. The fact that Wade's mum is a master hand-to-hand combatant. One of the villains stops mid-battle to answer the phone and talk to his mum, with Wade, whom he is choking to death at that point, fully accepting this and not thinking it's strange. I think what makes it and prevents it from feeling hokey and stupid is that every character accepts that it's mostly normal in the confines of the world in which they live. And so whilst it's funny and strange and wild, your immersion doesn't get broken. You can accept it all and buy in, which creates a really enjoyable experience. And then you combine that with really great acting across the board, managing to infuse these intentionally over-the-top characters with so much personality and heart. And on top of that, you have the really good visuals. You just have a recipe for a banger TV show. And indeed, it is a banger. And so, yeah, there's really not much else to say other than that. This show slaps. I'm on the hype train. More of this. It's goated. And so with all that being said, these have just been my opinions, and now I'd like to hear yours. What did you think of Knuckles if you've seen it? Do you like it, hate it? Do you agree with me? Maybe not. If you haven't seen it, are you now interested? I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know.